Good morning, everybody. Orange J here with another War of the Visions video, and this Monday in War of the Visions, we are getting two 100 cost units, both very hype coming into release. One of them, the unit we're going to be talking about today, Strategist Oldoa, has been on our radar for a while, has been a save target for a lot of folks for a long time, and has elemental advantage over the other unit coming out, Joom, for our global 4th anniversary. Now, I don't think that's a deal killer for Joom, but it is definitely something nice to think about for Strategist Oldoa. She's going to be somebody who a lot of people are going to pull, and with Joom being purchasable, expect to see some win teams or some great sword teams coming out there, and I think Strategist Oldoa will do well against both of those types of teams. So is she somebody you should pull? If you're only going to pick one or the other, let me give you the case for Strategist Oldoa before Monday rolls around. Let's take a look. So here's her kit. Let's start with her cost. It's 100 cost. She's Ash Tactician, which is new just for her, Devout Scholar. So interesting sub-job choices. We'll see how those play out here in a minute. Her TMR is Heart of the Sage. It is a 4 agility TMR, which is something to consider. It has a decent amount of HP and defense on it for an accessory. She is definitely a unit who's going to like stacking some defense, stacking some HP as a tank. Now, the TMR skill is interesting. I think this TMR will get some run, partly because it has 4 agility. It could be used for agility tuning, but this is not a terrible TMR. It gives you 25 defense, increases your elemental chain resist for 3 turns, and gives you a minus 20 defense penetration debuff to the enemy on your attacks for 3 turns. So if you want to stack defense and you have the ability to work this TMR into a buff rotation, either on Oldoa or another unit you want to give some defense to, maybe you turn it on, but I think mostly just TMR will be used as an agility for, like something to tweak your agility scores with. Okay. Her master ability, she's got the ice group buff. She has increased debuff weakening by 15 and increased healing power 15. Honestly, this is fairly weak as a master ability. She does come with some self-healing, so the healing power 15 is nice, but overall, I mean, like, this ain't the shining star in her kit. Her dream enhancement, gets better. Single target resist 15, there we go, we want that. Elemental chain resist 30, that's really nice, and then an upgrade to a skill. Okay, really quickly, I do want to show you something else that is not great for her and something else that is great for her. If we look at her total stats without dream enhancements, she's coming in at 62 agility. That's fairly slow. Now, tanks tend to be kind of slow, so it's not a huge surprise that she's walking with only 62 agility, but it is something to consider. Her resist, this is a good thing for her. The only thing she's weak against is missile, and she's actually very strong against slash, strike, and magic. She's neutral to pierce, so her resists are looking good. She's obviously got a lot of HP, but the 62 agility does make her a little bit slow. Still, I want to mention the other thing. Slashing unit that is wind is our global 4th anniversary unit, and I guarantee you a lot of people will be playing Joom. She is set up to do really well versus a Joom. Okay, let's look at her kit. Now, Soldier's Battle Song. This is the upgrade to Minister's Name. This is the one you run every time no matter what. It gives her HP, which she wants. It gives her 5 aggro, which makes her a tank. It gives her 12 more single target resist, which means if you combine that with the 15 she's getting right here, she is at 27 single target resist with just her master or her transcendence level 140 ability and her single target resist from the support ability, which is pretty awesome. And it gives her a self-heal when her HP drops below 50%. So she will always be running Soldier's Battle Song in PvP. Then you have choices to make. Do you want to stack defense and spirit while nerfing your damage a little bit? I don't suggest this one, but it is an option. Ash resistance, this one's pretty good. It's physical damage reduction, 10% for self, and 12% strike resist. This will make you much tankier against physical teams and especially against teams that include 1 or more striking units. Then you do have an accuracy buff with some defense if for some reason you need that. And then preliminary chant is activation time down. I don't think you'll be going there. So I think most people will go Soldier's Battle Song. Wow, Soldier's Battle Song, a bit of a tongue twister there, and Ash Resistance. Counter moves, this is a weakness in her kit in my opinion. She does not have a high percent proccing counter move. Her new one is a 20% chance to reduce all damage taken by 30%, which isn't bad, just there's enough reaction block in the game that a 20% chance counter move isn't going off that much. Still, it's there, you can use it, and I suggest that you do. Okay, her main job, let's take a look at what makes this girl good. One thing you're going to notice as we go through is a lot of shorter range moves. For a DPS unit like a mage, this would be a knock against them. For her being a tank, you often want your tank closing the gap to the enemy. Having shorter range moves will just help the AI do that. So her short range will help her, especially if you want her to get off more than one buff in a fight. Keep that in mind. Her cheat move, which only costs 15 AP, is a little bit of a 121% damage modifier. It gives her 20 defense and spirit. Like, don't sleep on the amount of defense and spirit this girl can stack on herself. Even though there's a bunch of penetration in the game, it's still one way to be harder to kill. And then when the enemy target is killed, she'll cast HP recovery for herself. So a little bit more self-healing built in right there. All right, her first buff, Live of Shusu. This does a lot of stuff. It gives AoE resist 20 to herself. Okay, that's good. It gives protect to herself. It gives shell to herself. It gives 200% chance to ignore fatal damage, so courage, and it gives absorb 30% of the damage done if you have your courage buff online. So what's this going to do? It's going to make her a lot harder to kill, giving her AoE resist to layer on to all of the single target resist that she has. Protect and shell is another version of making her hard to kill. And then courage, yeah, there's a lot of courage to spell, but it's another thing she can do. And then self-healing, another thing she can do to make her hard to kill. And you can see why she's considered such a great tank when we just add this buff to the rest of her kit, and we're not even done. I mean, this is crazy. Like, think about all the different ways you can live through damage, right? You can AoE resist, single target resist. She's got that. Defense spirit, she's got that. Protect shell, she's got that. Damage reduction through, like, you know, damage reducing abilities like what you see right here. She's got that. Courage and re-raise, she has courage. Self-healing, she's got tons of self-healing with healing up in her master ability. Whoa, this chick's going to be hard to chew through. So this is a great buff. You're going to cast that every time. Then her upgraded self buff, selfless defense. This reduces all damage taken by 50%. Look at that. Another way for her to be hard to kill. Also gives her 8 more aggro, which she's going to need all this aggro, the amount of time she's getting hit. Then when a friendly unit within range, automatically cast physical damage reduction on them. And when a friendly unit is in range, automatically cast CT down disabled. So her friends who are standing within range of her, and we'll scroll all the way down and look at this, friends standing within this diamond shape of her are going to have reduced damage taken, right? They're going to have no CT down and more. So there's what the barrier looks like. Let's continue reading the skill. When friendly units in range, cancel re-raise. So they can turn re-raise off as well. Insane buff. You must, I feel like for her to work, you got to get both these buffs online, which means with her short range, you shouldn't necessarily have a problem. Heck, she might be a unit that you could get 3 rounds of buffing cast, depending on where you place her on the map and depending the map, meaning a good TMR buff might be a thing to work in, or one of the other buffs in one of her sub jobs. But still, you want to run both of her buffs from her main kit. The drawback here is none of them are group buffs. So if you want her moving to people and buffing, you're going to have to look somewhere besides her main job to get her to do that. Still, both those buffs are worth casting every time. Okay, the rest of her kit is damage. Soren Pillar Plan, this is a single target, multi-target select move. Again, with that only range 3, but 200% damage. It absorbs damage done. So that'll, go on top of the damage absorption she's getting from her buff. Then, it debuffs the enemy's damage. So 15% damage reduction to physical and magic damage from the enemy she hit, making it yet another way for her to mitigate damage. And it has a chance to confuse, so she's bringing a status effect to the fight as well. Then she has Mindbuster. This is a square-shaped AoE with range 3 to directly in front of her. It's a guaranteed hit, so she has that, and it's a spirit debuff. That's nice. And then the plan to break the shield. This breaks magic barriers, 185% damage, and decreases agility once again at that short range with only the max of 3. And max 3 is the theme of the range in her kit. So that should help you get some buffs off. Now, if you want to run, let's look at her sub jobs. Why would you run them? And specifically, let's look at the buffs. So Ash Tactician sub job. This will give you a group buff. It increases max HP right? 25% for your targets, and gives you ice and wind resist. So if you find yourself fighting a lot of other ice teams with her on it, or a lot of wind teams with like New Joom, this buff could be worth running, and it helps control your movement early on in a fight. Her damage move that she gets has a chance to charm, so that's pretty OP. In fact, and it decreases AoE resist as well, but let's focus on this charm part. It's 3 casts. It might be worth like disabling other abilities in a fight to try to get her to walk out there and charm somebody. It's that powerful of a status effect. Okay, what if you want to run Devout? What can Devout do? Well, Devout does have Teachings of Self-Defense. If you wanted to run another buff on her, it increases max HP 20% for allies, and it's a ranged cast. It also gives 30 defense and 30 spirit and healing power for self. This could be the third buff you want to run. 30 defense and 30 spirit's a lot. The HP buff is nice. It's a great tanking buff. Does the defense and spirit necessarily stack with this move here? No, but it does stack nicely with her other 2 buffs. So honestly, I like the Devout buff right here a lot if you want to control her movement. Alternatively, you could get some AoE resist, which again doesn't synergize well with one of her other buffs, but the slash resist could be good as well there. And then you get some healing from Devout. Scholar is a self-defense buff if you wanted to run that, or a CT up activation time down. I think the only reason you'd run Scholar is for Law of Geoabsorption, right? Give you that, sucking the life out of HP, absorbing the damage, striking based magic attack. Maybe that's why you run Scholar. Otherwise, I will probably look for Teachings of Self-Defense or look to be charming people and taking advantage of Ash Tactician as my sub job. Okay, her limit break. Dispel has a big dispel, dispels buffs, haste, and damage increases for the targets. Very short range, once again, 200% modifier, absorbs damage, and it increases all attack resist by 15% for herself. Yet another way for her to not die. So I hope I've shown you that she's pretty OP. And let's not forget her new weapon, which gives her even more AoE resist. It also gives her magic attack pin and more healing power. This chick is going to be a menace to kill. She generates a ton of hate, just has all of the, basically every way in the game that exists, it feels like, to be tanky, she possesses. This is going to be a hard unit to deal with. Even fire units are going to have a hard time chopping through her layers of D. So if you're thinking about pulling her, I think you won't be disappointed. In fact, she's a top tier unit in this game for a reason, and there it is. So we'll do more coverage on June when we get closer to that and we have more info. Otherwise, if you're pulling for Oldoa, which I am, tune into my stream on Monday, and good luck to you. I'll catch y'all next time. Peace.